In the previous video, we ended up getting our weapons to cycle in the mystery box, but however, it's very rapidly because it's going along with the speed of the timer that is raising the weapons as well. So it's firing every, I think, like 10 milliseconds or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate that so it's a slow transition through them. So we're going to have another timer. So go to mysterybox.h. Here we have our timer for raise weapon. We're going to have another one. We're going to call it T cycle weapons. So let's look where we have our raise weapon getting called. So multi-box used. Here's the implementation. This calls raise weapon. So we want to fire up another timer. I want to just simply copy this guy here. Change the timer handle to T cycle weapons. Then I want to have a control variable for the speed at which this fires. So back in mysterybox.h, we're going to have a float. I'm actually going to make this blueprint editable by blueprint. So it's going to be float cycle weapon, I guess, starting speed. And for now, we're going to make this just a consistent speed. So I'm going to copy that, and we're going to give it a default value in the constructor. So I'm going to do, let's do 0. I don't know, 0.4 being the starting speed. So head back down to our multi-box used function, change out the rate to cycle weapon starting speed. So now we need a function to call. So I'm going to call it cycle weapon. So right below it, I'm just going to create a function, void cycle weapon, and create the function definition here. Move it down right above phrase weapon. And then what the timer is going to call is cycle weapon. So yeah. All right, so now we need to think. So when we have able to grab weapon fires, we want it to kill this timer. So we just want to clear it out. So let's go to able to grab weapon, wherever that function is, right here. And we're going to clear that timer. So get world, get timer manager, clear timer, T cycle weapons. Right. So now we are ready to, I guess, start on the actual cycling part. So that's going to be done here. So it's going to continually be getting raised by selected weapon and having its point being calculated here, but all of this stuff is going to be implemented inside of cycle weapon. So we're going to copy all this, delete it, and paste it inside of cycle weapon. So then what we want to do, we want to do a check. So if selected weapon equals a null pointer, we simply want to return. All right, ignore that. I was just doing a compile to speed it up for whenever we're finished. Actually, I think we are ready to test just to kind of tinker around with it and see what the result is. So let's launch it and see. Wait for it to finish up. Alrighty, see what happens. Press F. As you can see, it is cycling just very slowly. So let's crank that rate up. So cycle weapon starting speed to 0.1. And I think 0.1 is actually about the speed that I want to start it at. So I'm going to change the default value to 0.1 in the constructor, so instead of 0.4. So now we have that. And what I want to do is I kind of want to do a slow interpolation to where it will gradually stop or slow down the cycling of the weapons. So it starts out fast like it does here, and then it gradually slows down as it reaches the top. So I kind of want to just, I'm thinking pretty much just going to be resetting the timer for cycle weapon inside of cycle weapon and gradually slowing it down each time. So we're going to take our cycle weapon starting speed, trying to think. If we reuse the timer handle, it should clear out the timer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the timer. So we're going to copy our set timer for cycle starting what, or sorry, for cycle weapon. We're going to paste it at the bottom of cycle weapon, like so. And we want to alter cycle weapon starting speed. So what I want to do as well is set cycle weapon starting speed. Where is it? Set cycle weapon starting speed back to its default value here. So that way on the second use, it's not going to be slower and just continually get slower and slower and slower. All right, so let's see, we reset the timer. We want to alter it here. I want to do ukismet math library f interp2. Do I want to do a constant? Yeah, we'll do a constant and just see what it looks like. So we have the current, which is cycle weapon starting speed. Then I want to go all the way up to 0. Let's see, what looks like a good rate for near the top? 0.8. Go to 0.7. Let's times it get world, get delta seconds, and the interp speed. So I don't know. Let's go up to like 10. And set cycle weapon starting speed to equal the return value for that guy. And compile and just see what happens. Close that down. All right, let's relaunch it. Alrighty, let's see what happens. And I gotta put you back down to 0.1. That's what I forgot. So we try it. All right, so it starts out fast, however, it slows down way too rapidly. So let's see, if we do an f-interp2, it'll make it start out fast, but it'll take longer to slow it down. So I don't know if that'll be a good route, but I'm gonna go ahead and lower the interp speed down to like 5 and try it again. I'm gonna make just a variable for it. So it's gonna be float cycle weapon interp speed. use that instead. Go to the constructor and give it a value, well, default value of 5, and compile. So that way we can just alter it in the editor and just we'll know roughly what speed we want it to be. And also want to do a test because I'm not sure if it'll actually clear out the timer as intended. I'm going to just do a test. Cycling weapon. Spelling is good enough. That's always optional. All right, do one more compile. I just want to confirm that this does in fact stop whenever the weapon has reached its top point. So whenever able to grab weapon gets called. Alrighty. Actually kind of like that. All right, so it does in fact stop. So let's try one more time. All right, so it does slow down and it will gradually lower. However, I noticed the lowering time, what time it took for the box to close seemed off. Oh, no, that seems about right. That was kind of weird. Thinking after this, we need to hide all the weapons because it looked like the weapon was still there. Like so. So that's what we need to do. We need to hide the weapon itself. After, okay, so able to grab weapon comes up. That's when the weapon's all the way at its point. It'll gradually lower itself. And it'll call box interaction finished. So what we need to do is hide all of the weapons in the chest. So I'm going to create a dedicated function to do this. Just void hide all weapons. It's just going to do a simple for loop. So a weapon base, weapon in, box weapon array. Then we're just going to do if weapon or set hidden in game true. So after, okay, I need to move you up. We're going to be organizing the header here soon as well. I'm going to put it right below box interaction finished because once it's finished, what we're going to do is call hide all weapons. And that will fix the issue with the weapons slowly, or two weapons being visible. So that's because of how we have our index set up. There's still a weapon visible in the box and we start at a different index. It's not hiding the one before it. So it's going to show both until it loops back around, finds that weapon, hides it like usual, and continues on. So that's why we're doing this. And then once this is done, we can go through and do, oh, what do you call it? Set the speed, the cycle rate, this thing back to its default value. So that way it's the same every time we open the box. So let's go and open it once. Wait for it to finish closing, then confirm that it has in fact stopped. Or it's not going to be, yep, as you can see it just hit it. So we open it again. And same kind of deal happens, it's just cycling through very slowly. I want to change the starting speed for the cycling rate to 0.07. In term speed, let's lower that to 2.5. I kind of like that better. So default value 0.07 and 2.5. I'm going to set those in the constructor real quick. 0.07 and 2.5 for default values. Now I want to create a default value for the starting speed. So, well, not a starting speed, but float cycle weapon speed. This is going to be the actual value, sorry. So we're going to use cycle weapon speed for that timer. So here we have the timer, cycle weapon starting speed. We're going to use cycle weapon speed as the timer speed. And then up here on able to grab weapon, when it goes to reset, we're going to set cycle weapon speed equals cycle weapon starting speed, like so. And we want to set that in begin play as well. So begin play, do it right there. And we should pretty much be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the header real quick. So here we have our two functions. Put in the category where everything is related to each other. We have my timer handle. Put that with the rest. All of our cycle weapons. I'm going to actually put the cycle weapons at the bottom so it makes a little more sense. And I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go through, do one quick test, and then I will step through it real quick and kind of explain what we just did. So let's wait on the compile. On. There we go. So let's look at it. Open the box. Cycles through them pretty quick. And will gradually make its way back down. And it should disappear. And box closes. Try one more time. Okay, the speed is back to being slow. Oh, I know why. We look at our raise weapon, or cycle weapons. We are altering the speed of cycle starting weapon. We need to do the speed for cycle weapon speed, not the starting speed. So in cycle weapon, we're going to do cycle weapon speed. And in the timer below it, cycle weapon speed. And for the first value of this fmterp2, we're going to do cycle weapon speed so it interpolates correctly. So now we should be good to go. And while it's loading up, I'll try to do a quick rundown on what all we just did. Alrighty. What we've done is when we use the box, we call two timers. One's to raise the weapon to keep it steady going upward, and one's to cycle through the weapons. For cycling through the weapon, that's doing the exact same thing as before. Let me remove that log. Except the only difference is it is changing, it's going at a different rate than our raise weapon function timer. So at the end of every function call, we alter the speed of the timer. So we constantly set it at a lower speed. And that's how we get that effect of it gradually slowing down. So we start out fast like so, get slower at the top until it finally stops, and then the weapon slowly goes back down. Right, then we do it one more time. And there we go. So yeah, it's now resetting its speed back again. So I guess up next would just be confirm everything works in multiplayer, and then we can go through and use actually make it so we can grab the weapon. And go figure, that's 3 out of 3 that's been the M1 carbine. There we go. Now it's different. So it is changing. So try with 2 clients real quick. Client buys it. And as you can see, it's going through just fine. But it did teleport down there for some reason. I think it's whenever we tab out for some reason. So that might be related to timers. It buys it again. So in general, it's working, but there's still going to be some issues that we have to work on. But that'll be whenever we go to polish it up. So as always, if you like what I'm doing and want to help support me, there's a link to my Patreon in the description, as well as if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask them in my Discord server that is also linked down below. So as always, I will see you in the next one.